camera on.
All right. Well, thank you all for who are joining us live, and to everybody who's watching later, thank you so much for tuning in later. We're super excited that you're here. So today who we have is Lizzie Williams with Amarillo National Bank. She is their Community Development Director, and she's going to be talking to us about Banking 101 today. And we are so excited to have her. So Lizzie, thank you so much for coming and for being with us. If you have questions today, put them in the Q&A box, or you can put them in the Q&A box, you can put them in the chat box. If you have questions later, put them in the comment section on the video, and we can get back to you as soon as we can. So if anybody else have questions, if not, we're ready to get started.
Okay.
It's all you.
All righty. I'll share my screen here in just a minute, and we'll just kind of run through a presentation. But as she said, I'm Lizzie Williams. I am the Community Development Director at Amarillo National Bank, and I get to do all sorts of fun things. Mainly my favorite thing is teaching financial education. So today we're going to go through kind of just a brief summary of the beginning parts of starting into your banking life. And hopefully I'll be happy to answer any of your questions afterwards. And hopefully you'll learn something. I hope. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see right here. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay.
Yes, you can see it. You're good to go.
All righty. Okay, well, we're going to talk about beginning banking. And so when I'm talking about beginning banking is that most people start out, how do I, when they get a job, where do I put my money? So the first thing we're going to really go through is talking about checking accounts mainly, but savings accounts also. We have several different accounts that you can choose from, but when it comes to banking, checking and savings is typically where you start off with your relationship. Then possibly might come a car loan, a home loan, and then just making investments and hopefully planning for retirement. And as you start that, your first point of contact will most likely be with a customer service representative, because those are the people who will get you set up and ready to go. So let's just start. And like I said, basically, I'll be talking about checking, but we can certainly talk about anything. So first, checking accounts have several advantages to help you manage your finances. One of the main things that we don't actually talk about here is it really helps you with your budget. It's something that can keep you in line with what you're spending versus what is what's going in versus what's coming out. And it's important to know all that so you don't get charged any unnecessary fees. So that's a great thing with that. Also about checking accounts, they're very necessary in today's world. Almost anytime you want to make a reservation for something, or you need to you want to purchase something online, you're going to need some sort of debit card that comes typically with a checking account. So the main things that you would be able to do with the checking is deposit money, whether that be, that can be anything, any sort of income you might get. Gift money is the best. Also, you can pay your bills, send and receive money on a mobile device. We actually have an app, but there's several apps out there that you can use that for. Again, help track your spending, which helps with the budget process. And then also it keeps it secure. So it's not something that's just, hidden under your mattress or in a coffee can buried outside somewhere. We're going to keep it nice and safe and tucked in for you at all times. Main thing about a checking account, we're going to talk about 3 different things. Number 1, convenience. You have easy access to your money. So a checking account is not like other savings or certificates of deposit accounts, in that you can access it 24 hours a day. Also, if you have any questions, typically, especially in the Amarillo area, we have a lot of community banks here. So banking locations are close to home or close to work. And so if you need to go into a brick and mortar place, they're available. Also, direct deposit for your paycheck. This is an incredibly popular feature of a checking account. That way it just shoots straight in. You don't have to make the trip to the bank, and you can start using it to pay bills online, or use your debit card, write a check, whatever you need. Also the security. So you have the added protection from fraud and theft, and that also kind of goes along with the debit card that we'll talk about in a little bit. It can also alert you about any sort of suspicious activity going on with your account. If someone has gotten a hold of your account number or something, it's typically very easy to catch it, and then also to fix it. And then the FDIC insurance is up to $250,000 now. And just really quickly, FDIC insurance goes into effect when a bank has basically gone out of business. So if there was some sort of catastrophe like a tornado or a fire or something like that, that your money is still going to be there. This is just basically if the bank were to go under. And then also the flexibility you have with a checking account. So you have the option of doing in-person banking, online banking, a mobile app. You can also access your funds by writing a check using your debit card, again, and through a digital wallet or an app. I don't know if any of you use Apple Pay or Venmo or anything like that. The majority of those have to be connected to a checking account. So it's easy to be able to access your money in all sorts of different ways now, instead of just walking into the bank or going to the ATM. Next, which account might work best for you? There are a lot of different types of checking accounts. I'm not sure the age of this group, but most of you are probably not fitting the category of a student account anymore. Those are for our younger banking people that are just getting into banking and kind of learning how to do it, and that's our student account. The most popular is our free personal checking, and that is going to be that's one we're going to talk about in depth here in just a second. And then also we have interest-bearing accounts and a senior checking account that we offer there's just different perks to each account. With an interest-bearing account, though, there's going to be a lot more restriction as far as what you have to keep in the account, minimum deposits, and you're not as able to access those funds as often as you would with a free personal checking. I did go ahead and put our website down there just because we show all the different accounts we have, and then so you can take a peek and see which one works best for you. What do I need to bring? So when you're going to open the account, these are the things that you need to just kind of to get started. You'll need your Texas driver's license or ID card, your social security number. You will need a street address. It can't be just a PO box. And then any other contact information you might have as far as phone number, email, those kinds of things. You have to have those things in order to get started with the account. Now, on this slide, this is basically just specifically for Amarillo National Bank. Naturally, that's what I know most about. So I know other banks might have something similar, but could be different. So at Amarillo National, it costs $50 to open the account, but you don't have to keep a minimum balance. So once you open it with that $50, you don't have to keep it at $50. You're able to spend that almost immediately. There's no monthly service fee. And then always free with that account is you get the Visa check card, which is the debit card. You have access to online banking, online bill pay, bank by phone, that is just an automated system. And of course, you are able to contact anybody at the bank at any time for free, and also mobile banking as well. You can get your email or your statement sent to you via email or just in the regular mail. the email has become a lot more popular just because you can file it away. You don't have to shred it or file it or anything else. You can just take a peek and move on. Also, there's unlimited check writing with this. So for those of us that still write the occasional check, we have as many checks available as you need to write, typically for bill paying and things like that. At Amarillo National, the insufficient fee, so basically this is what we would refer to as an NSF fee, are $19 per item once you go over, you dip under the 0 mark on your account. So we will go ahead and pay those checks for you. It's just gonna cost $19 per item. I will plug us really quick and say that we're the cheapest in town with that. So, just really quickly, I actually have been self-employed at one time, and some of my employees did not know how to write a check that were in their adult life. So just really quickly, this is one of those things where this is just, you know, as basic as you can get, but you're gonna put your, the month, day, and the year. Paid to the order of is who you're writing the check to. This is the, where it says 200 is the numerical amount. Next, down on the next line where it says amount, you actually have to write it out in words. And that is what we call the legal amount. So if the numeric amount and the legal amount don't match, we go off of the legal amount. So the amount that's written out in words. You can always put a memo of what it's for. And then most importantly, sign at the bottom, because that's what, when you bring, or whenever the person that you've written it to brings it in to cash it, we're going to look hard at that signature if they're a customer of ours. So also, along with this, many people probably don't keep a register of all of the money that comes in and goes out of their account. But in order to balance your account, to make sure that you always know what you have in there, we just need, or we ask that everybody keep a register, and that you have to record all your checks and debits and things like that. For the debit card, I am pretty much, I mean, incredibly, I use my debit card every day. So the convenience of that, I never have cash, and I actually work at the bank. I walk past the ATM maybe 5 or 6, 10 times a day and never seem to get cash out of it. So it's incredibly convenient. The new security features on debit cards, especially with the chip and then keeping your personal identification number to yourself, can keep your money more secure. It automatically withdraws from your account. So as typically as a pending transaction, so you can see that once you made that charge, it comes out of your account. A good part of that is if your account, or if your card was ever stolen or found and someone decided to use it, you'll know immediately if something has come out of your account, and we can find it pretty quickly. Using a debit card does not affect your credit. So if you're ever, if, you know, it happens sometimes that people dip into the insufficient funds, it's not going to go on your credit report. It's just something that we handle at the bank with the fee, and then moving on. And then the overdraft is available. Like it says, the fees are assessed if you used it. And those are just a picture of our cards that we offer down there. Choosing the right account. I know on the ANB.com site, we have a comparison of all the different accounts. So it's important to research that and look at what's best for you. I can almost say the best way to start is with the free checking. And then once you get used to doing that and using it, and you want to save money and use those interest-bearing accounts or something, you kind of move into that. But basically start out with the free checking, and then you can decide later what else you might need. There's no limit on the amount of accounts you can have. So the more money you bring in, the better, you know, you can spread it out and make it work for you. And that's kind of all I have. One thing that we do have at anb.com is what we call our financial health club. And on the front page of our website, there's this little box that says educate. And when you go into that educate box, it will take you to an incredible program called EverFi that tells you anything and everything you've ever wanted to know about financial education. It's a free service that Amarillo National provides. And I can actually show you, I think. When you scroll down right here, you'll go right here, and it talks about anything and everything as far as
We're still
buying
seeing
home.
your PowerPoint.
Oh, do what? Oh, you
We're
are?
still seeing your PowerPoint.
Okay. Whoops. Well, either way, if you scroll,
share at the bottom and then pull it up if you want to.
We can, well, let's see. We can just stay from here. So when you click on this box, it's going to take you to what we call a playlist, and it's going to talk about checking and savings. It's going to talk about car loans, home loans, investing your money, also fraud and fraud protection, how to keep your identity safe and for your own self, and just a wealth of information. And I encourage everyone to use that because they just have these little modules that are about 5 minutes long, and it's a lot of good information. So that is basically it from me. I'd love to answer any questions if you have any.
We have gotten quite a lot of questions, so
okay.
I'm going to go to the top and see if we can't get through all of them. So
okay.
Our first question, someone asked, what are the benefits of having an interest-bearing account?
An interest-bearing account is great if they're funds typically you're not going to be using for a while, sort of close to a savings account. A savings account you're going to have a little bit more access to, but interest-bearing you're going to be restricted on how much money or how many checks you can write, how many transfers you can make. But the good part is it's a great place to put money. Let's say if you're saving money for taxes at the end of the year, or something like that, or vacation even, that you're gonna have to write checks out of, but you don't necessarily need to touch it right now. And those accounts typically earn a little bit more interest than a regular savings account.
Can you explain for our students what interest is? Just like basic level.
Sure. So basically what interest would be is we are going to pay you for keeping your money in the bank. So unfortunately, interest rates are very, very low right now. But we're basically going to pay you monthly on those accounts for the larger the amount that you put in. Some of those accounts, though, you're going to be required to have a minimum balance. It could be $500, it could be $1,000, and you can't go below that threshold. But basically, we're going to pay you a percentage to keep your money in the bank, because we in turn use those funds to loan out money, and then they pay that money back, and that's how the bank makes money. But yeah, that's basically kind of the quick and dirty on that one.
Perfect. We have another question regarding checks. Are there time limits on checks for when you can, if you're writing them, when they have to be cashed by, or if you receive one?
A lot of times it just depends on, typically on corporate checks, it'll say on there it'll be voided after typically 180 days. We encourage people just to go ahead, if it's in your hand, to go ahead and do something with it. A great feature we have also is that you can now, and I know other banks have this as well, is that you can just take a picture of that check and it'll deposit into your account. So it kind of just depends, but the typical time frame is 180 days from when it's written.
I don't know who would hold on to a check for that long.
Yeah. Well, and if it's lost or, shoved down in the side of your, seat of your car or something like that, it does happen. That's why I give you a little bit of leeway.
Right. We had another question, a student asking for savings accounts, is there an age requirement for children? And then when can that be switched over to where the child is the sole owner of that account and their parents are no longer on it?
Okay. That will happen. So your child, you can open a savings account for your child at any point. It's basically a custodial account, but we would put the account, the minor would actually be the primary owner, so it'll be under their Social Security, but it's under custodial control. So the parent or grandparent or whoever's opening it will have control of it. If you wanted to open a student account, then the age is 10, and that you can switch it to the checking account. And there's some perks on there for, we pay for good grades on the student account. So if they bring in their report card and it has A's and B's on it, then we'll pay them $10 every 6 weeks. So you can do that at 10, but the parent has to stay on it then as well. 18 is really the age when you would just either move it over to a free checking or just take off the custodial part of the savings account, and then they have full control.
Gotcha. So I'm going to skip a couple questions just to circle back to what you were talking about interest. So we have another question about interest-bearing accounts, if you'll be able to take the full amount when ready, or is there a time frame or a fee for withdrawing that money?
It depends on what account that you get. If you were to get like a money market account or an interest-bearing checking, you again have access to those funds. A fee would be assessed if you go over the amount of times you're allowed to write a check on that account. And again, all of that information is on our website. If you have a depository account, like a certificate of deposit, there is a fee for terminating that early. So that's basically the kind of account you would put in for 30 days up to 5 years that you just leave it there. You don't touch it. So there's a penalty for withdrawing that early, but the other accounts, it's not going to happen. If you follow the rules of the account, you won't be assessed any fees.
Makes sense. Speaking of y'all's website, a student asked, do they have to have an Amarillo National Bank account to use the Educate site?
Oh, no. It is available to anyone and everybody that wants to use it. Please spread the word if you use it and you like it. I know it's hard for some people, it was for me actually, to want to ask questions just because you don't want to sound like you don't know what you're talking about or something like that. But it's a great way to just kind of give some intro level information about anything banking. And that's honestly why it's there, because we know a lot of people have trouble coming forward and asking those questions in person. So that's why we want to give you that tool.
We have some questions in about the debit cards. So when you go to like a convenience store and you swipe your debit card and it says, do you want it debit or credit? What is the difference?
The difference is a debit, you're going to have to put in your PIN number, and credit, you are going to have to sign for it. Now I know there's a lot of companies that do, if you go through Burger King or something, if it's under a certain amount, you don't actually have to sign for it. And basically, it kind of comes down to how it's processed with the company. So whoever their merchant is, whoever is providing the service that they can use credit cards or debit cards, is it's how their fees are assessed. It's kind of confusing for a consumer, but it's how they are how they're charged. So for the most part, if you're using a debit card and having to put in your PIN number, it's going to be a little bit cheaper simply because there's an extra level of security there. And credit, sometimes, if there's something kind of glitchy going on with their system, sometimes the debit side works and the credit side doesn't. But basically, that's the biggest difference. It's more about the processor than the consumer.
Gotcha. So kind of back on a similar topic, if you go to buy something and you forgot your card or your check, is there an app, or through the A&B app, is there a way to pay?
No, there is not. And typically most stores are going to require that money up front, unless they are, let's say, a Venmo processor that you can stand there and do it right there. Sometimes you might be able to give a debit card number, but that would be up to the store on the risk they want to take.
All right. Is it hard to transfer banks?
Well, it kind of depends on what you have connected to your account. Most people would, before a lot of things were online, it was pretty difficult. Now, if you were to come into Amarillo National to switch from another bank, if you have things coming out of your account like utilities, if you paid bills all out of that, then it's pretty simple to get that switched over. Now there's just a form you fill out. And so, I mean, but you can also have, accounts at multiple banks. And as time goes on, if you're not really ready to shut down one to move everything over to the other, you can use both if you need to. But just to keep things straight, I prefer, to keep it all in one place. But nowadays it's not as hard as it used to be.
And then back on the debit card. So other than the overdraft fee, what other ramifications are there for overdrafting your account? Does it affect your credit or your bank?
There's no effect on your credit. So our insufficient funds go up to $600. So we will pay anything up to $600 that you spend. Now, if you're to go and spend $1 here, $1 there, and you're in your overdraft, it's going to cost you the $19 fee plus what you have coming out. So always be mindful of that, just because those little tiny purchases can end up costing you a fortune. But also, as far as the debit card goes, you can actually turn off the overdraft features. So to where if you were to run your card and you don't have the funds available, then it'll actually just decline the purchase. And then you won't be charged a fee for that. If you do, then we'll charge the $19. The debit card is the best way to do that. If you have a check that bounces, let's say if you're over that $600 and we don't have the funds available for you, it's possible that the place you wrote the check to can charge a fee as well. We've seen this a lot, especially at fast food restaurants when they're writing a $7 check and then it costs $19 for us. Then it didn't go through, and then they charge, like Burger King would charge $25 on top of that. So it's really important. That kind of goes back to the register I was talking about, is that you have to keep track of what's in your account. And online banking really helps you do that pretty easily now, but it's important to keep track.
One more question that we received is, do you think that checks are necessary for students to have at their age?
I don't know. I think the account itself is necessary. With the debit card, I know that most people, and my children have the student account, and they use it all the time. They've never seen a checkbook except for when we opened the account. So they only use their debit card. And with app to app and things like that, you could probably go a pretty long time without a check. The good thing is if you need to write a check, the bank can print a cashier's check or a money order, or even some temporary checks to where you're not having to keep, a box of checks around. So there's a lot of ways to get around it. So the checks themselves are kind of becoming a little bit more obsolete, but the account itself is still very much necessary.
Gotcha. Well, that's all the questions we've received. Do any of the other attendees have any other questions? Banking, checking, savings, debit cards, overdraft fees?
There was one that I saw that we haven't discussed, so I do want to ask this one to Lizzie really quick. So I was asking, so even if you don't have your card or your check, can you pay? So can't like scan it or whatever and pay at a store, but can you use it to pay your bills? Like, can you set up your bills with the app, or how does what does that look like?
Yes. So basically, in order to set up the app, you have to do it online first. And you go and you set all that up at andb.com, and then you'll go into our bill pay site, and that you can set up anyone on bill pay. Even if you're sending a check to your mother and you need it mailed to her, you can set up bill pay for that, and we will send them the funds. Those just typically aren't electronically sent. We will print a check and send it. Unless they're a larger company who might accept electronic funds from us. So, and again, with your phone, with Apple Pay and lots of things like that, there is a way. I should have said, going back to that one question about not being able to pay. If they do Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or something like that, you should be able to pay at the store if they accept that, and if you have it loaded into your wallet on your phone. But yeah, so that's kind of it about that.
Yes. We haven't had, it doesn't look like any other questions come in. Taylor, do you have any final thoughts or?
I don't. I think we got all the questions in. If y'all have questions, we got another question. I think we just got it answered. They were asking if there were any other catches on there, and I'm like watching the chat box blow up. But I think we covered everything. I love that y'all have this educate tab on your website. I think that can be really beneficial for our students. And if they have other questions, they can check there. Could they also contact you if they had other questions?
Sure. They can contact me. You can also, any branch location is available to answer questions. Also, we are still, we answer our own phones at the bank. So we don't even have voicemail. But if you call our main number, which is 378-8000, and it's on the website too, they have, you can call and ask any questions to them. They're very knowledgeable about new accounts and even loans and anything else. So there's a lot of ways that you can contact us to get the right information.
Perfect.
Right.
Well, I just want to then I guess end with thanking everyone for coming. Thank you so much, Lizzie, for being here with us today, and Taylor for helping us. Be sure that you check out our next Adulting 101 session. It'll be over budgeting on October 8th. And we will do a drawing for our gift card winner here shortly, and I will notify y'all via email. But that's all I have. Thank y'all so much for coming. I hope y'all have a good day. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Lizzie.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Lizzie, for coming. Yes, we were so glad to have you. Thank you for coming.
You bet. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a great day.